Welcome to Bear Down Ballers. I'm your host, AJ BRAMLETT. Got my man Ryan Wall with me again this week. And man, what a special experience it seemed to be in Vegas over the weekend, man. I mean, you were on site there. I'll let you jump in first and give me some of that, some of the details from a wonderful weekend for Arizona basketball.
Yeah, the vibes were immaculate. The experience was incredible. It felt like, they call it McAllen North for a reason. It really did feel like I was in the McAllen Center. I mean, the environment and it was incredible. Words can't describe it. I mean, just to see that team, battle, start in the Stanford game. They lost Kerr at the end of that game, only won by 4 points. Then they beat Colorado. That was a close game by 10 points. We saw, a dominant performance from Tabellus, which was great to see. And then, 2 nights ago, in that championship game, I think that I want to get your opinion, but I think that was easily their best win of the season and one of the best wins in the entire season in college basketball against UCLA to win their first Pac-12 tournament championship since 2018. What do you have to say about that, AJ?
No, it was big time, man, and just the way that it happened. And I was at our New Mexico state championship final, but I was watching the game on my phone the entire time, man, going crazy. And just for them to struggle, I mean, not struggle, but UCLA was playing well there, for a lot of that game, and for us to have just the grit and the toughness to pull out that victory, without Kerr. I thought Dalen Terry played amazingly well. He's continued to just, go up and up on his stock and the way that he's been playing on the offensive end of the floor. CeeLo played great. We had 11 block shots, total as a team. It was just a great victory. And, I just love to see the celebrations and, hearing the U of A chants again. During the game is just something is one of my favorite things to ever hear. So, it's just great. It was a great, cap to a wonderful Pac-12 season. Along with all the awards that the guys received and coach received, and which were all well deserved, to really make a run through that tournament and to pull off the victory in the championship is something special. It's not something that should be overlooked. And some people were like, even if we lose in the tournament, not a big deal. You still want to win, and it's still another championship and another stepping stone, for hopefully what's going to happen in the tournament. So I thought overall it was a great team performance. Even Adama Ball, what about his? I wanted to ask you what you thought about him coming in, and that's a bright spot for the future as well. What were your thoughts on his time?
That he was just incredible. I mean, certain things happen in the game. It just says to me in my head, I think like that team's gonna win. And when he came in and hit those 2 threes, I
Yeah,
started to think that. And then in the second half, when Ben Matherin hit that kind of fadeaway type three at the end of
yeah,
that shot clock,
yeah.
and then you had Dalen Terry knocking down 2 clutch threes to put them up 9 when Arizona was down by 9 earlier in the half. I mean, just everything, overcoming adversity, losing their starting point guard, not just their starting point guard, the heart and soul of this team,
Yeah.
the guy who makes this team run and bring that energy. But yeah, the guy that you mentioned and could have been his best game of the year. I mean, Benedict Matherin, like, enough words, enough good things can't be said about his play. 39 minutes, out of 40, 27 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. 13 for 15 from the free throw line. He struggled from there this year at points, 2 threes. I mean, what do you have to say about him?
Ben's a pro, man, and the more the more his game has developed this year, and the more open he's been on the offensive end, and he's really diversified since he's come to Arizona, and just he can score in so many levels. His 3-point shot is beautiful. His floater game has consistently improved throughout the season. He's getting to the free throw line, like you said, now knocking those down and being aggressive. His passing has really gotten a lot better from the beginning, especially from last year, but even from the beginning of the season till now. You've seen a huge jump in his passing ability and facilitating for his teammates when defenses try to take him away. And so it's harder for defenses to key on him because, he's making the right pass, 99% of the time. It's either leading to to a shot or, providing a great opportunity to pass out for a different, basket. So he's just been doing great, man. It's just been fun to watch. He's playing with so much confidence. His swag and his determination and kind of the grit that he plays with on the court is infectious to guys. And when he's a confident player and playing the way that he plays, we're the best team in the country, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he's doing things, and I'll talk a little bit about every player, but he's bringing the ball up sometimes, which Tommy Lloyd said when he got here, Matherin wasn't, he barely even touched the ball, barely wasn't dribbling a lot. He wasn't
Right.
really good there, last season. But to take that next step forward, and in these big games, you look for everyone needs to play great, but you look for the best player needs to step up in the biggest moment, and he
Absolutely.
really did that and proved that he is the best player. He's one of the best players in the country. I don't think he gets talked enough. People don't mention him as one of the best players in the country, but I think he is. And a little bit about every player. Dalen Terry, the guy who at the beginning of the year, he was a good passer. He a good defender, but he wasn't that efficient of a shooter. His 3-point shooting was getting better, but in this game, 15.7 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 for 9 from the field, 2 3-pointers. I mean, he really has put it all together and has become a complete player. And, to me, I mean, he's right behind Matherin, probably is the most important player on the team. What do you think about that? What do you think about Dalen
Um,
Terry?
Yeah, I mean, all these guys are important to their success, but there's, a few of them that, the engine needs to be running, high all the time for us to be the best team possible. That's DT. I think it's Kurt Kriisa and Ben. And, CeeLo's been extremely solid all year long, consistent. I would say the same with Umar, and Tubelis, as we always talk about, is just consistent all the time. So, but DT, the expansion of his game is just something fun to watch. And really, we've talked about it, since earlier in the season. If he ever got that aggressive mindset and more comfort on the offensive end of the game, or offensive end, his game would just, blossom from there. And we've seen that. He's shooting threes confidently that they're going to go in, and he's making them. And then, with 7 rebounds and 7 assists, I mean, he's flirting with a triple double again. It's only a matter of time basically before he gets one of those, I think. And he's going to have an opportunity to continue his expanded role. I don't think a lot of people know that he was a point guard in high school and played a lot of PG growing up. So he can step into that role until Kerr's back 100% healthy as well, and facilitate and do a little bit more. And he's done that, and I'm happy for him because he's a hard worker. He's a good kid, and his game is just going to another level right now, which is extremely fun to watch.
Yeah, I thought last year, I didn't really like, seeing Terry. He was basically just stood on the perimeter, and that's
Yep.
not where he really excelled. So yeah, I'm happy that he's more involved in the offense and getting those touches. And also just when Christian Coloco had that dunk,
Yeah.
in the last few minutes of the game, and Terry had one too on the fast break. I mean, I thought the building was going to explode. I mean, that was the icing on the cake for the game. And Justin Kier, only played 13 minutes in that game because he got in foul trouble. But he was a big part of the Colorado win. He stepped in for Kerr in that starting role. And I asked Tommy Lloyd yesterday about Kerr in the tournament. He said he's likely to play, on Friday. They play the winner of Wright State Bryant
Yep.
at 4:27 Mountain time in the round of 64 game in San Diego. So that we'll get into that in a little bit. But I wanted to kind of after the game, after the Colorado game and after the UCLA game, at the beginning of the press conference, Tommy Lloyd, got emotional when he was talking. He started to tear up a little bit even when he was talking about his coaching staff, his players, and just how much they mean to him, in his first year, to do all this and to achieve all these great things. What do you think that says about him as a person and as a coach?
I mean, it's in line with everything that's been happening this entire year. We've said this, and I've said it since day one. It's the spirit and the energy of this team that is the greatest, benefit to them. And they believe in each other. They love each other, and they're playing for one goal only, and that's to win basketball games. They're selfless. Nobody's worried about their points and who scores what, and who's the star of the team. And that's not something that happens a lot. You know what I mean? And so Tommy's fostered that environment. He runs it. He runs the program that way. I think he's got an open door policy of communication with the guys that, is something that, not always, coaches don't always have either. And so he's just fostered just such a family atmosphere that, you care about it. Your brother's doing well, playing well, you're happy for him, man. And, I think Tommy looks at these guys as, it's like his sons. And so, they're just to see the success that they're having, and especially the coaching staff and all the diversity and experience that they bring to the table, and that he's willing to trust them to listen to their adjustments and what they see out there on the floor, says a lot for him, because a lot of coaches are stubborn or rigid and, it's my way and this is my game plan and we're running with it. To be open to taking that, that information and using it, says a lot. And so it's just it's the spirit of the team, man. They're just fun to watch. Their energy is wonderful, and I'm just really excited for the tournament now. They've checked every box this whole regular season, and now through the Pac-12 tournament, and now we're to the real season where I think, and you talked about Ben, people not talking about Ben, nationally this year. Now he's going to have an opportunity to really jump onto that stage along with all our other guys and show what we've been doing all year long to a national stage. So I'm really excited for that opportunity for these guys.
Yeah, and a pure example of, this team, just caring about one another is after the championship win, a few days ago, Koloko, he right away, he brought up and shouted out Dalen Terry about how important he was, stepping into that point guard role. But you said what you said is right. They've checked all the boxes, Pac-12 regular season champions, Pac-12 tournament champions, but the one box they haven't checked yet is the one box that you checked, and you cut down that final net, and that's the one that they're going for. When you just keep watching this team, you've talked to a lot of the players now through, the season. Do you have that feeling that this team has a legit shot, especially when you looked at the bracket, to cut down the nets in just under a month?
I do. And, that's grown in my belief, throughout the season, but, just like we said, the way that they play, the style of basketball they play, the versatility, the size, the basketball IQ, the togetherness. I mean, they have all the ingredients you need to make a home run at this thing. And they're playing really well right now. So you want all those things to happen as you're going into the tournament. Obviously the tournament is difficult, and a lot of things have to go your way to win, but going into it, we're at the best position possible to make a run at the championship this year in Final Four. So
Yeah.
I think guys are stepping up. Guys have gone down and been out this year. We picked up, where we needed to. Next guy up has played well. And their confidence is sky high right now. So the one thing that we don't have on this team, right, that people are talking about, is experience in the tournament. But to overcome that, you need, certain ingredients, and we have all those. So I think the guys are going to be excited. I mean, obviously it's a different environment in the tournament, but we're built to make a long run for sure. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think this team, actually, they've played in two, mini tournaments so far. I think that's helped them. They've said it has helped them so far. And I first look at the bracket. I think Arizona, they're in the South region.
Yep.
They got the number 2 overall seed, second number 1 seed. I actually thought that they should have been the number 1 overall seed. I know it doesn't matter a whole ton, a lot, but I mean, they beating UCLA, twice this year in the last few months was just incredible. But yeah, they match up with, Wright State Bryant, and then second round, hopefully that getting through that first matchup, they'll play the winner of Seton Hall TCU. But then in the Sweet 16, they have a potential rematch against 4 seed Illinois, who they beat in Champaign just a few months ago in a very tight game. It was a great Kerr, performance. He led them to that victory down that stretch. And then after that, they could either be matched up with number 3 Tennessee, or who they lost to in Knoxville in another close game a few months ago, or number 2 Villanova is the 2 seed in that side of the bracket. But another potential matchup, I know this is, a bit doing a lot of hypotheticals here, but in the national championship, if all goes well for both teams, we could see, a Tommy Lloyd versus Mark Few Gonzaga Arizona matchup in the national championship, would just that would be a real
Crazy,
full
pretty
circle
crazy.
moment, an incredible, moment for everybody. What do you think about the bracket?
Yeah, I mean, I think our bracket, we have a solid bracket. I mean, looking at it, I think that, none of those teams, I mean, they're all good teams, don't get me wrong. I think that we would welcome a rematch with Tennessee on a neutral court in the tournament, to try to avenge that loss. And Villanova is strong. I mean, I watched them from the beginning of the season when they played at UCLA early in the season, and I watched them, throughout the year, here and there. They're a good team, physical team. But I think we have a good shot. I mean, looking at the overall bracket, I think we're in the best bracket in my opinion, for us and the style of basketball that we play. And so, I think it's just one game at a time. As you know, one game at a time now. Focus on the opponent at hand. Don't get too far ahead of ourselves. And Tommy's done a good job of keeping them present in the moment pretty much all year long. So, stick with what we've been doing. Come out. I hope we play well early in the tournament, get the confidence going. But there's no reason why we can't make a run, at the Final Four at the minimum this year.
Yeah, that's what Tommy Lloyd's been saying every game. People try to ask at the press conferences sometimes, few games in advance, hypotheticals.
Yeah,
He said he doesn't live with hypotheticals or stuff like that, with theories. He focuses on the next game, and that's what he said they're doing, and that's been working all year. Something I wanted to, get your take on. Sean Miller said on the Field of 68 After Dark show, last night, he said that a thing that they did when he was a head coach, in March Madness is they would, kind of create their own bracket. They would have like a picture of it or board, of just their kind of region of the bracket. So like the South region, for example, and only, look at those teams, so then it's not 68 teams, it's less teams, so it's only 16 teams. So it's just less for the players and everybody to worry about. Cause he said
right.
sometimes, the 68 team bracket, could get a little intimidating. What do you think about that? And in your experience, is it intimidating to see that many teams in the field?
I don't think that we worried about that when I was playing. I think I like that idea of, Coach Miller brought up about kind of simplifying it, making it, a smaller path, and we're only focused on our road. But part of it is it's fun, man. It's fun to see those other 68 teams. It's fun to see the teams from, other teams from the Pac-12 what they're doing. Like, you still follow it, and as long as you're able to advance and survive and play well, it's a great ride. And so I always did look though and see what other teams were doing. And even when we were in the middle of the tournament, obviously you're focused on your games, but it's still fun to have that overall, immersive experience of seeing what's going on and the upsets and where other teams are playing, while keeping your eyes, obviously focused on your goal of trying to get to cut down those nets, at the end of the tournament. But I do like that idea that Coach Miller, brought up about, a way to kind of simplify and cut down on some of the noise, that can be out there.
Yeah, so AJ, moving, forward with this weekend on Friday at 4:27, they play Wright State or Bryant in the round of 64. And then in the round of 32, they'll play the winner of Seton Hall, TCU. How do you think they'll I know Wright State or Bryant, we haven't watched a lot of, of
I haven't seen
or
them yet.
so,
I mean,
but
do some research.
but I think Arizona will be a heavy. It's safe to say they'll be a heavy favorite in that matchup. And then they could play, one of these teams, Seton Hall, TCU. How do you think they're gonna fare this weekend? They're on a hot winning streak right now. Arizona. You think they could win these first two, get to the Sweet 16 next
Yeah, I
weekend?
do. And I put out, a tweet yesterday, like step one, what I mean? And that's a little way how to break it down too is, get through the first weekend. But that first game, I think there'll be a little bit of jitters, just because it's of the environment. Like when you first play in in the first NCAA tournament, and you get out there on that floor, it is a little bit different for the first, minutes of that game, usually. So I think that they'll play well in that game and get by it. But TCU or Seton Hall, I like those matchups for us. I think we'll play well, and I expect us to win. There's no team in the field right now that I wouldn't pick us against. And, there's nobody that I look at roster wise that's like, oh, they're more dominant than us, or, we're at a deficit at this position, or I just don't see that with our guys. Obviously you have to play well, and, the ball's got to go in the basket, but from a roster perspective, I put our guys up against anybody in the country. So,
Yeah.
I think they'll play well. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they will. I think they should get through both teams with ease. They do come out to slow starts, as we know. So, I mean, if we see that, I mean, no one should get too worried. But, this is the first time in 4 years since 2018 that Arizona's in the March Madness, tournament in the field of 68 here, which is great to see. But I wanted to get your kind of thoughts about kind of just like, because, before the season, we had expectations, make the tournament, hopefully be competitive in Tommy Lloyd's first year. But it's like you're everyone expectations, kind of update, and that's what I happened for myself, and I kind of feel that I think it's really the Elite Eight should be their floor for this year's team. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think we have a really strong shot of getting to the Final Four, but it's hard to get there. You know what I mean? And I was part of a team that got all the way there and did it. And then the next year, we had what I thought was the best team, in the college in the nation, and we ran into a bad game in the Elite Eight. So the tournament is the tournament, and anything can happen. So even when you look at it on paper and, oh, we should beat this team or whatever, you got to come out on that night and get it done. And weirder things have happened in tournaments, every single year. So, but if we're focused, we're playing good, our style of basketball and playing at the highest level, I think a Final Four is more than possible for us. And so I think Elite Eight would be great. Like you said, coming from the beginning of the season where we were just hoping that they were going to, have a good showing and, make the tournament to where we are now. I mean, everybody should just be, thankful and happy about where the state of the program is at this point, the players that we have, and the ride that they put us on this year. Hopefully we just keep it rolling all the way to the end.
Yeah, we know nothing. You can't take anything for granted. And when it's March in the NCAA tournament, because there's upsets all the time. Virginia lost as a 1 seed a few years ago.
Yeah.
And anything could happen. So it's just great to take it game by game, and we'll see what happens. But they look like they have a good path to the Final Four. Maybe see some teams along the way that they've played, Tennessee, Illinois. But yeah, AJ, I wanted you to tell everybody who we have next on the show. We have a great guest.
Yeah, this is special, man. And, a homegrown guy, a guy that is one of my favorite Wildcat players of all time. I had a wonderful career in Arizona, now doing his thing, did it in the NBA and now doing his thing overseas. Mr. Nick Johnson will join us next on Bear Down Ballers. Before we move on to the next topic, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with BetRivers yet, now's the time, because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Play Instant Approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season tipping off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Welcome to Bear Down Ballers. I'm your host, AJ BRAMLETT. Got a super special guest in the building today. Far from us, across the water, Mr. Nick Johnson, one of the best to ever do it in Arizona. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. Hey, it's March, so exciting time to be a Wildcat for sure. I always try to keep up with all the teams, so it's good to see them doing good.
Absolutely, man. I mean, we'll get into that a little bit later about what, the season that they've had this year and what's been going on, but it's been an amazing time to be a Wildcat. Wearing that block A is something special, man. And March, you just can't beat it, as you know, with all the success you had over your career. So first of all, let's start off a little bit, though. I want to go back with you a little bit, just to your time, your high school time, man. And I know you were at Highland High School there in Arizona, and also in Finlay Prep. Can you just talk about a little bit about how that provided a foundation for you in your basketball career, what those times meant to you?
Yeah, I mean, man, those 4 years were crucial for my experience, growing up and everything. Obviously, being an Arizona kid, you always know about Arizona. Being a basketball, in a basketball family, Arizona is always, on your mind and stuff. All the great players that have gone there. And I mean, Highland was huge for me, just, getting my feet wet, being confident in myself. And then I think the Finley move was something that I necessarily didn't want to take at the time. My parents kind of pushed me towards that, but I'm thankful that they did, because it provided me, with the experience and everything going into college, that really, was why I had so much success at Arizona. So it was huge.
Talk about a little bit about the time at Finlay Prep. I know that's difficult for a lot of kids, just like you said. And nowadays everybody's pushing for that. You know what I mean? At earlier ages, to be on travel teams, to be traveling all over the country early on in your career. And kids from 7, 8 years old are doing that now. So what did that talk about a little bit of the difficulties of what it was to do that, leave home and go pursue your dream of basketball?
That's exactly it. I mean, you have to. You're not a regular kid when you do those things. Like, everybody gets to go to prom and you're basically sacrificing that. If I was in high school now, we have some schools in Arizona that I could have went to, but back when I was in high school, there was really only the staple few. There was Finley Prep, Montrose, Montverde, Oak Hill, and majority of them were back east. So. But it's definitely, you're sacrificing your nights, on the weekends. You're going to the movies with a girlfriend or whatever, rather than, you're playing pickup with 10 pros. And I mean, really that's like the trade-off, and you get what you put in. It's as simple as that. And, my family base was huge for me to help me make that decision, because they knew what I wanted to accomplish in basketball.
Well, I mean, it worked out well for you, because you came into Arizona ready to go, man.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I say that's the biggest thing too. I mean, you can look at all these, whether you're their top players in high school or whatever, if you're playing on a regular high school team, you are for sure the best player on your team. If not, you're one of the couple few that are either going to college on a scholarship or whatever. And I mean, my team, my junior year, my first year I went there, it was Corey Joseph, Tristan Thompson, who were both first round picks. Tristan was number 4 pick, NBA champions. We had Jabari Brown, we have Nigel Williams-Goss. Like, we had 10 future pros on my team, and it was always, there was no off days. Practice were by far harder than any of our games that we experienced, because you were always going against, the best players.
Absolutely. It's the same thing in Arizona. I mean, that's why you go to Arizona too, man.
Exactly.
Somebody's going to be there that's going to push you every single day to be your best and develop you as a player. So let's hop into your career in Arizona a little bit. I mean, you did everything there, man. I mean, you were Pac-12 Player of the Year. You won a Pac-12 championship. You're consistent first All-American as well. I mean, you're Mr. Arizona. You got one of the dopest Arizona tattoos I think that I've ever seen, which I love, man. So just talk about your career, man, and how it grew you as a person and as a player, and what it means to you, to be a Wildcat.
Man, it's everything. That's one of the reasons why I have this tattoo, is because those times in Arizona were unforgettable. Just amazing. The whole process of it. Just the way the fans make you feel, the support that you get from the community and stuff like that is, I mean, as obviously, is just amazing. And myself being an Arizona kid, always felt like that little extra special connection. And so it's always great, going back in the summers and getting to see all the new guys and stuff like that, and continue on the tradition. I make it a point every summer to, try and get back there one time and see the new kids and stuff like that, just to give them, when I saw the AJ Bramletts and the all those guys come back, like, that was like a big thing for us when you guys would come back. And I can still remember the exact games that, I remember when Gilbert came to our game, or I remember when Mike Bibby for the first time when I was a junior, he came down to Tucson. Like, that was like a huge thing for me. So the tradition is unlike any other. It's rivals any college in the country. And We know that.
We know that, man. We know.
Right.
But it's been that way forever. It was there
Yeah.
it was that way when I was there. And David Stoudemire
No.
would come back, and guys would come back and play with us in the pickup runs, and just really build that family atmosphere. That's continued. On to this day. So, what were some of your favorite memories from your run, though, for your time in Arizona? Some games and things that you remember
Man.
most.
Okay, so my first memory that just sticks in my head is my freshman year. Actually, they were coming off an Elite Eight with Derek. He had just went number 2 in the draft, and we had a really good freshman class coming in. And we lost our very first game to a D2 school, Seattle Pacific. It was an exhibition. And I remember that, and we were preseason probably like 13, 15, something like that. And I was like, man, this is going to be interesting. Like we thought we were a good team.
Right.
And I mean, we had our ups and downs that year. I think we finished 21-10 or something like that. But I would say that was like my first initial reaction. And then I would say the Florida game, my second year, is definitely sticks out in my head, just because, I mean, we were, I think that was the story of that was the story of the year. I mean, we were a good team, but we didn't quite have everything to put it together or whatever. That was a big game for us. I also have the block against San Diego State on Christmas Day. That was a cool moment. And then obviously my last year was just, the whole time was an amazing experience. Just, I mean, there's so many levels of things that come to my head. San Diego State to start the season on the road, that was a big game. Michigan on the road, that was a huge game. And just, going down, and every single game, honestly, was just great.
Now I gotta ask you about the Wisconsin game, man, because I know it still bothers you, just like my Utah game, or you won it. Oh man, I can't.
It's so crazy
because
it's so crazy because I've had encounters with Wisconsin guys, and like my rookie, or after my rookie year, we drafted Sam Decker in Houston, and I wanted so bad to hate him, and that's my guy. I love him. And then like this past year, actually in Turkey, so it was myself, it was Kyle Wilcher, Tyler Ennis, and Sam Decker.
Okay.
And like that's like we talk about it so much. Like we talk about just both of the matchup, the one my year and the one the year after. And I want to hate him so bad, but that's like one of my best friends. And it still hurts to this day. It's crazy because every March I get at least 15 tweets about it. And whether it's some fan or someone saying, oh, like, what's the biggest what if or whatever. And that's always it. So
it hurts, man. It just never goes away. And it's similar to me is I got drafted with Andre Miller because he was at Utah during that time.
Yeah.
A strong triple-double on us, and was the reason why they knocked us out in the Elite Eight. And I was with Dre for a long time, and he'd always bring it up. I just had to eat that, though. You know what I mean?
Right. You can't do much. We just hope that, hey, like I was really hoping this year that they would put them in the same bracket, because I think this year we would get them.
Yeah.
And it always seems to do that too. Like they always seem to somehow get in our side. So yeah.
So, let's talk a little bit about your relationship with Coach Miller. I've had a lot of guys on. You're the first player that I've had on that played under Coach Miller. So, we talk a lot of loot. I've had the current guys on with Coach Lloyd, but talk to me about what your relationship with Coach and what that means to you. And, he left the cupboard full this year, for those guys and for Coach Lloyd, and they're doing a hell of a job. But want to get your thoughts on Coach Don Miller.
Yeah, I mean, that's my guy. I said it before. That's he was. I still remember the day he got the job my sophomore year at Highland, and he literally had his press conference, and he drove down or up from Tucson and came to see me. And like ever since then, it was just it was a relationship that I mean, a lot of ups and downs, but I mean, I know if I ever need anything, I can call him. He's always got my back, and it's the same vice versa. So obviously a great coach. It's a tough pill to swallow. Like I kind of said it. I was talking to TJ the other day actually, and I was like, man, it feels amazing because obviously, you know, I'm a Wildcat and I love my Arizona Wildcats, but I'm sure you guys kind of felt the same way when Coach Miller came in.
Right.
It just feels so weird seeing Arizona win without Coach Miller. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I know, I mean, because Lute had such a long line of you know, great players. And so I'm actually, I wanted to ask you, like, did you kind of have that same feeling when Coach Miller took over?
Yeah, I mean, you do, because I mean,
Yeah.
your era is your era. You know what I mean? Your coach is special to you and specific to you. So,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, when they're winning and having success, I mean,
For
you're
always
always there. You know what I mean? We're gonna always, you know, rock that block A, and we're gonna support our university and guys, and you know, just like you, like I was a fan of you. You know what I mean? We never met personally, but you know, I followed you and loved, you know, everything that you did on the court, and that's how our family is. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what area you played in. We're all Wildcat family basketball. You know what I'm saying? And so,
1000%.
I'm glad that you asked that, though. Nobody's really, you know, ever asked me that before. So that's an interesting perspective on it. Coach Miller did a hell of a job, man. You know what I mean? He put so many guys, you know, into pro basketball, had great success. He's a good man, and you know, we're just lucky to, you know, be in the situation that we're at this year, and the program continues to build and get better. Let's jump into your pro career. You were the 42nd pick, all right, to the Houston Rockets. That was the 35th pick, you know, to the Cavs back in the day. So, you know, we were right around second round guys. So, you know, it's a different path for a lot of guys. So, talk about your time with Houston, and then, you know, I'm really interested in getting into your time in the G League. But let's talk about your time in Houston and getting drafted and all that. What that was like for you.
Yeah, I mean, Houston was great. Coming into the league, you know, obviously, like you said, second round guys, they have a different kind of path than first round guys do. It's just, you know, it's just a different kind of mindset you got to have. I actually was blessed. I had a 3-year guaranteed contract, so I still had like some security, but
that's a blessing, man. That's a blessing. That 3 years.
It definitely was, and I understood that. But I mean, at the same time, I still had a mindset of like, man, I'm a second rounder, like,
right.
And I mean, I had a chip on my shoulder as well. But I mean, just going into that team with, first off, I had an immediate vet in Jet, Arizona Wildcat, 20-year guy, you know, and that was a big plus for me. And then having 2 superstars on the team, like it was amazing to see, you know, like you hear all stories when you guys travel around and stuff like that. But having Beard on the team, and then Dwight at that time was, you know, he was still kind of the Superman. And it was an amazing experience just to see, you know, top level basketball, and I mean, just learn from truly the best.
What was your relationship like with Harden, man? Like, what was that like? I mean, he's one of the greatest players ever played, man. So.
Man, it was actually good, because actually ASU had kind of been the first school to recruit me when I was in the 8th grade, and that was actually James's freshman year, going into his freshman year. And so I kind of knew him from then. And then, I mean, it's kind of weird because I feel like when you're in school, like the Pac-12, you know, we all try to beat up on each other, but like when you're in the league or when you're overseas or whatever, like you're like, oh, that's a Pac-12 guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it becomes more of a brotherhood. And I mean, that's what basketball is. Especially being over here, like any American you see, if you know them or not, it's someone that you can relate with because they're doing the same grind as you. So I feel like that's kind of how it was with me and James. And I mean, yeah, one of the best offensive talents ever to happen to basketball. It's amazing, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great opportunity for you to learn from a guy like that.
Oh, man. And honestly, and just guard him every day in practice. Like that was like,
how was that, man? Was he drawing fouls on you like right?
That's what I looked forward to. That's what I look forward to every day, like that we would actually practice. It was guarding him, because I was like, man, I get to challenge one of the best players, offensive players, and I mean, I think I could do a pretty good job on him.
Did you lock him up some practices?
Hey, come on now, you got to have the intellect to guard James. You just can't be. Come on, you gotta stay solid with him. That's the thing. You know, the greats are always gonna make shots. You just you can't stop them. You just gotta contain them.
you can't reach
Yeah,
either.
exactly. No.
So after that, I mean, you had extreme success in the G League, man, and you know,
Yeah.
you were the Finals MVP, you won the championship in 2018. Talk about that time and like what that did for you, because I think a lot of players, you know, need to know that and know how, you know, beneficial it could be to take that G League path and how it helps you.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, it was a great group we had in Austin. I credit the Spurs organization because that group is unlike any. I've been on a couple of G League teams. I was in Austin rehabbing before that. Obviously, when I would get sent down with Houston, and then actually after that year, I got traded to the Wisconsin G League team, and that team was just constructed differently. Like I don't know what it was. The guys, the front office, the coaches were just all. They wanted to play basketball, and I think that was why we were so close and why we won. And I mean, really, nobody could touch us that year. We felt like we were going to win every game by 30.
Yep.
Seriously, we did.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling.
Yeah, no, for sure. We were coasting through the season, and we were like, man, this is like even games we lost. We were like, oh, okay, like that's. So I mean, it was an amazing experience because you learn how to play basketball when you're in the right system and stuff like that. They're actually teaching you basketball, and I mean, obviously now with the two ways and honestly this year with COVID and everything, guys are getting opportunities, getting called up and stuff like that. So I mean, an amazing opportunity to be in the G League right now because you know you get to prove what you can do. Brandon from Portland, they just they just sign him for the rest of the season, or
Brandon Williams,
like that's an amazing example of, you know, betting on yourself. Hey, he knew he wasn't going to finish career at Arizona. Betting on yourself, going to the G League and grinding, and it paid off. So G League is a great tool if you put in the work. If you are focused on your end goal, then I mean, you can definitely, whether it's a EuroLeague team or the NBA. I mean, you know, I tell a lot of guys when I go back in summer or when I'm in Arizona, because there's an amazing amount of talent that comes to Arizona now, which is crazy. To train in the off season is crazy. But I always tell guys, I was like, yo, don't always, you know, everybody wants to be in the NBA, obviously. Like that's the dream. Nobody dreams of, hey, I'm going to grow up and be a EuroLeague star, at least in the States. Nobody does. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm like, hey, there's a lot of money to be made overseas, and sometimes you're just gonna have to say it may not be that path. It may be, you know, that second round path or whatever. Like it's different than what everybody or what the ideal person wants. But there's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of the world to be seen, and a lot of basketball to be played. So.
That's exactly right. That's the path I took. You know what I'm saying? Like I played a little bit in the league, but then played overseas in Spain and ACB and loved it over there, man. There's all different paths. Just like you said, there's all different opportunities. But playing overseas is different though. You got to have the right mindset, man. You got to have the right mindset. So talk about, are you in Paris right now? Are you currently?
I'm in Paris, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you're in one of the most beautiful cities in the world doing your thing, but talk about kind of your whole overseas path too, and how that's, you know, shaped you as an individual and a player too.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely difficult for me at first because, you know, I went to Munich, my first city. I went to Bayern. Bayern Munich, big club, great coach, great team, great teammates. And it was tough for me because, you know, I was an NBA guy coming over a couple years out of college. I still had that mindset like, oh, I want to be the best player, but this and that, you know. And I was a 23-year-old kid coming over here alone.
Right.
No family, you know what I'm saying? I'm in a country that, they speak English, but it's, you know, it's not their first language. So it was definitely a rough transition my first year. The basketball is different. The lifestyle, you can do whatever you want. You know, it just is different. But I mean, once you kind of get that, you know, and I've always been that the unselfish type of player where, you know, you got to fit in with the team. It's not about you. You may be the American, you may be the highest paid guy on the team or whatever, but that doesn't mean that you're any more important, any better, whatever, blah, 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 than than, you know, the low guy or whatever. And I mean, I think that's what I really love about over here, is that it's a team. It reminds me a lot of college. The fans are crazy. Like it would be like a Duke North Carolina rivalry or something like that. Like that's how they are over here. They love their sports. They love their clubs. It's been amazing, honestly. I've got to travel the world. I played in Turkey 2 years, Germany, France. So it's been great.
I mean, you're talking to a guy that has the same story, man. It's like, it's fun to hear, you know, coming from your perspective, because I feel the same way. And traveling the world, and it just opens up your mind and everything so much more than playing. And then the NBA is great, you know what I mean? And you always want
for
to
sure.
Do you still have aspirations of trying to get back to the league, or are you comfortable in Europe?
Of course. I mean, hey, if somebody wants to pay me some guaranteed money to come back, like,
right.
Of course. But I mean, I tell my fiance this all the time. I'm like, you know, there's always good days and bad days wherever you are. And I tell her, I'm like, man, just think about this. You can ask anybody in Paris where they want to go, where would they want to spend a week in anywhere in the world. And I guarantee you a lot of them will say Paris, Paris, France. And we live here. And I was like, you know, it may not be, you know, sometimes family can come over, or they can, or whatever. The weather may not be the best right now or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like, we live in a place where like literally so many people in the world would die to go to, and they never will.
Right.
And so you just got to be grateful for what you have.
What are some of your favorite things to do in Paris, man? That's one city I never got to go to. I mean, I went through the airport only, never got to visit there. So I always wanted to go there. I went to 25 other different countries, never got there. But, you know what I mean?
I would say, I mean, the food here is you could go to any corner in Paris and go to an amazing restaurant, and it has. I've tried everything from the pâtés, the escargot. Okay. So I mean, I want to try these things because, you know, you can't get them anywhere but here.
Yeah.
So I would say the food, the restaurants are amazing here. We just went to Disney a couple weeks ago.
Oh wow!
So they have a Disney Paris. It's just like the one in LA. So that was a pretty cool like slice of home. And then also I think that's what we do a lot is like, we have 5 other Americans on the team. We always try to find one place that kind of reminds you of home. So we have a Mexican place, actually. It's called Fajitas.
All right.
It's right across the street from the Notre Dame. And we go there probably once or twice a month. And it just gives us kind of that, you know, that taste of home that, you know, we can go relax. Maybe we had a hard week of practice or whatever, and we go there and everything's good.
I feel you. That used to be a Hard Rock Cafe in Barcelona for me.
Yes, we go there too. That's a good one.
That's right. So let me get your thoughts on this year's team, man. I know you're a busy man, so I'll let you get out of here soon. But what are your thoughts on this year's team? Have you been able to watch any of the games? I know it's a different time zone and everything, but I know you've been following on social media. But like, what are your thoughts on this year's team?
Man, they're good. I've probably watched this year's team more than I have the last couple years, just because I've been in Paris, and so it's a little bit less time change.
Right.
In Turkey, it was like 10 hours usually, so I couldn't really catch them. But I watched the Illinois game, I watched the Tennessee game, I watched the first round of the Pac-12. I probably watched 4 or 5 games this year, so I've seen them a decent amount. And like I said, I've gone there the last couple summers and got to see them work out and stuff. So, man, they're good. They play with confidence. They shoot the ball with confidence. That's what I love, really. You could tell whenever, it doesn't matter who takes a shot, they're not looking over their shoulder or whatever. They're not worried about anybody saying anything, and that's how it's got to be. I mean, that's how basketball has evolved, you know, with Steph Curry and stuff like that, taking all these shots. Like you see the offensive game has really evolved, and I think they do that to a T. So it's amazing. I hope Kerr can be I know his ankles, it looked really bad because I was watching that game, And I hope he can come back because he's their heart and soul. It's clear to see. Like he's their, he's their TJ. Our year was
That's what I
TJ.
was gonna say. Yep.
He was our bulldog that like, he doesn't necessarily have to score. He doesn't necessarily have to do anything. He's just like that heart on the team.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously Ben is having an amazing year. Like I swear every time I see a game, he has like 25 points.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And he's shooting efficient. But who I actually really love is Dalen Terry.
Yeah.
And then Koloko.
Yeah.
Those two are so it's crazy because the first camp that I ever held after my rookie year at Highland High School, Dalen came to my camp. And he was this tall, skinny, goofy kid running around trying to do crazy, like it was crazy. But I knew then, I was like, man, this kid, he's got some talent. Yeah. No, seriously. I remember the guy who brought him to my camp was one of my mom's friends. I went to him. I was like, hey, like, give him my number. If he ever needs anything, if he wants advice, whatever, like tell him to text me. And he would text me throughout the years, like when he was in high school and stuff like that, or this and that. Like we kept up, and it's crazy to see how he's become because, man, just as far as like all the way around and rebound, blocks, steals, assists, everything. Like it's great to see him be a complete player, and he's gonna have a chance to really play at a high level. So it's gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's one of my favorites on the team, just the energy that he brings. But I think his offensive game is really expanded now. So,
it has for sure.
Like, his confidence is sky high. Even with Kerr going down, having him, and people don't know this, that he was a PG.
He was a point guard. So, exactly. He was a point guard.
A chance to show that a little bit more at that size and length and athleticism, man. It's something special, bro. It's fun to watch.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. Who do they have first? They have the playing game, right? For their first round?
No, they play
the other team, right? Yeah. Who's it? Wright State, Brian?
Yeah, Wright State, yeah. Okay. So I think
those are probably some of the games that I'll be able to watch.
But that you're still following the team. That's what I love, man. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
You're still following, and these guys have been special all year. This has been cool for me because if I'm covering them and being able to have all those guys on the show this year, it makes me feel like I'm a part of it, man. So it's been a fun ride, So
that's a.
But hey, I appreciate your time, Nick. I want to get you back on another time. Much success to you in Paris this year. Keep it going, man. Keep it rolling. You're one of my all-time favorite players at U of A. And, I just thank you for everything that you've done for U of A and for basketball in general, man. You're a great dude and a great player.
Appreciate you having me on here.
Of course, man. Anytime, brother.
Bear down always.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
All right.
Thanks, Nick.